Lucia Cosi, voice teacher here with our episode of our voice series. Today, as I said, I'm giving a lesson to a young contralto that you will see in some videos. You will hear it. It is me, some times ago. Why this? Because I'm quite typical of something that has happened for some time to voices like mine and in general. And we start immediately. You're going to listen to me. There we go, where I do sing. I will stop a little, because as you see into the video, how can you say that I'm a contralto? In what moment of study, training, age? Because for a contralto, natural contralto as I am, it's quite important. Do you remember from the first episodes on the larynx that the larynx develops into the time? It starts higher into the neck when you are very when you're really kids, and then it comes down. It starts at cervical vertebra C2, C3, and it comes down C5, C6. Then it has a huge change into puberty. And there it changes according to how you change hormonally. It's not exactly the same for everybody, and it's a bit of a continuum. We decide and we discuss about classification of voices since many times, many years, even centuries, because it's not just a binary univocal thing. If you have heard me here, you can listen and you can hear that I'm a contralto. I'm a natural contralto. There are no doubts about. When you look at my larynx, and I have some laryngologist when I went for my ear, some problems of ear, some bacteria, some infections, etc. They asked me to look at my vocal folds. I have never had any problems when I was singing, so I just let them look at them, but I was not one of those controlling the vocal folds constantly because I really had no issue at all. And they told me, "Wow, what do you think you are?" I know I'm a contralto. I sing even higher, but I'm a contralto. And I've been told you have the larynx that looks like the larynx of a tenor. It's quite big. And this is the first thing. If you have a really big larynx, you cannot be a high voice. So the second thing is, listen again. Now we go further. When I do sing something more, it's a duo. You hear that the other voice is like if she had a smaller vibration, a smaller wave. Me, I have this big, huge wave, even into a quite clear sound. Because sometimes it has been said, and it's commonly said, you're a contralto if you're very dark. It is the color that says if you're a contralto. I don't know. I'm not so sure. What do you think about? Here I was 6 months into the conservatory, into the class of soloist vocal performance. I made, it is opera soloist vocal performance, but I was doing ancient music, I was doing chamber music, I was doing lieder, I was doing sacred music. In here, after 6 months, it was the concert of my class, and I had been asked to be the soloist for the recital of closure of the academic year with the orchestra and the chorus of the conservatory. I made in what moment of study training age, because those are very important, into the development of voice. Because the voices are not ready and mature immediately. And especially the heavy voices. Because when we have the puberty, it changes into the dimension of the structure, but it is still a young larynx. Young larynx means that you have the cartilages of the larynx, which are cartilages. So very flexible, very smooth. That's why you don't have to force when you are young. And that's why you have a clear timbre color when you are younger. A contralto is a female voice with a bigger instrument, but still into an estrogen progesterone dominant environment. And what we know is that for classical voices especially, but in my expertise for all the voices, you must take care that those hormonal dominant voices do not get into what we call the raw chest voice. That is the first register in which the testosterone voices can put more drive, more force into directly. The estrogen and progesterone dominant voices need, especially when young, when not calcified yet, take care of not pushing too force into not balanced, because my hypothesis is that we have less coactivation than the testosterone dominant voices, but still we know into tradition, into good practices, into good technique, and into the centuries of expertise and experience, that we have to manage our first register in a slightly different position. Is it the height of the larynx? Is it the less constriction? Again, we don't have all the answers, but certainly we do not put direct, straight force into the chest register of the estrogen and progesterone dominant voices. Otherwise, we stunt, we damage, and we don't come back from this. So to say that the larynx starts being calcified at the end of your 20s years and gets mature, as we say it, into the sound, late 30s, start 40s. Contraltos get mature into the sound really at that age. I was clearly a contralto without a great component of chest voice. To me, for some reasons, and at the end of this I will tell what I would have done for me to develop that, but that was not addressed in conservatory. It was said, you are too clear to be a contralto. As to say, you are too clear to be a double bass, so you are a violin, or you are a cello. You see? We are too big. In here, I'm a young contralto. It was not so long time that I was studying, so I'm not that perfect. And sincerely, I cannot be. 1 year later, you find this on YouTube entire if you want to listen entire. 1 year later, following my courses and making some concerts, etc., it is this year. So, if you heard, I'm still quite clear, not as before, not in all the notes. And this air is placed higher than the previous duo. Let's see how it finishes. So, if you hear, I have some high notes. Yeah, they're pretty high. For a contralto, they're really high. It is a G5. They are quite correct. I'm quite correct. I'm less correct in some places than the previous year. Where? In the passage of register. From D5 to E, F I come back correct, but D5 I'm not that in order, if I can say. And I may hear, why was I asked to darken and to get to mezzosoprano roles? Because this is a clear mezzosoprano role. The clear mezzosoprano, and I will let you see the sheet music, means what? They asked me to darken a lot. I tried. I made what I was asked, but I started being less correct in some parts of the extension. From now, I see it was exactly the passage of register. Then I found that, yeah, okay, I have high notes, but I had also, when I arrived, high notes, because contraltos have high notes. But they're quite clear. They're not that dark. They're plenty. They have a plentiness because there is more material working into the voice, a different length, a different quantity of tendons, muscles, membranes, and of the musculoskeletal system of the larynx. The musculoskeletal system of the larynx, when it's bigger, it enters into the vibration and it slows down the vibration. It takes more time to have the sound. And when you go higher, you have to get sooner into the clear vocal production that sopranos have after the A note. Whereas Heinrich says that there is a bit of the overdrive. We cannot have exactly that overdrive, but we must have a clearer, less heavy production. Otherwise, we are going not to produce those notes or to damage really badly our voice. What happens here that you can hear quite well? It happens that since I'm a contralto, I go toward the head voice before, sooner than the other voices. So what you hear that I'm pretty noble. I still have this noble aristocratic voice that it has always said being my signature in some sort. And at the same time, they ask me to be more dark because for Romeo, in this part of the extension, he needs more strength. But this strength is typical of the medium voice. And the medium voice is stronger here with mezzosopranos and sopranos. So I'm very cantabile, as you can say. I have the attitude. I'm okay into the attitude. but you feel me softer in some sort, because this is the contralto. It is stronger, lower, and it is softer, higher. And if you go to listen again, the previous one, you feel that you hear the contralto depth in the other duo that is less, mezzosoprano. And I said in here exactly 6 months in conservatory, and this is 1 year later at this place. Asked to be an acute mezzosoprano role. I had a clear timbre. I've been asked to darken it. I was pretty precise in the intonations, not perfect because I was a young singer. Here you start hearing some out of phase sounds. You hear into the vibrato. And you hear that you don't have the overtones into the color of the sound production at the perfect pitch. It has been a little lower, as if I was asymmetrical and something goes not exactly in phase into the sound. You hear in the high G. So why I said it is a mezzosoprano? Let's have a look to the partitura. Look at that. This, it starts on a D. And it is between a D5 and a G4. For contralto, it should be a bit B flat, and a E. Then it goes to the air. When it goes to the air, you see, immediately, an octave and a half in between D4 and G5. For contralto is a bit too much, because again and again a lot of F5, a lot of E5, a lot of F5, and some little notes going again in between D5 and A4. Not at all contralto, tessitura. Then to do things worse, when it starts, there is a fa. It finishes with a G3, okay, but mezzosoprano can do. But look at that. This is really extreme for a contralto. Really, really extreme. You have A sharp until again G5. How many G5 I have to do there? In just 3 pages. At least 4. It's a lot for contralto. Then it starts with it is a allegro marziale, which is boom, 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 boom. And I have to sing again. D5, E5, do, 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 boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. There, a duo in which I am lower again. And here again, you listen that absolutely I'm a contralto, but I'm trying to fit into a more mezzo-soprano role. It's less high than Romeo, but still, to get to the attitude, I'm a bit out of phase. I think you find some Mozart, you find I'm getting better, I have more abilities than before. Yeah, you find me in Mozart. Andiamo. And what you hear is that in my words production, I use a lot of the tongue to make into the mask the sounds, into the resonators, but I don't really produce the words into the note. Because here again, it's a bit too high. Then I save myself because you get skillful, you get professional, you get better into your capacities. I use those to navigate into and to be credible because they're quite good at the things that I'm doing. But again, it's not exactly on point and on focus. You hear into the recitatives. And again, just to listen at this thing of the words, I was asking if this was okay because, you know, we wanted to do the cards, the trio of le trio des cartes from Carmen, and of Bizet, and there is the soloist who wanted to do Carmen, so of course there was not the mezzo-soprano to do this role, and of course I did it. And there you will listen that I have the high notes, and they're quite correct, quite direct, very beautiful, but to save, because again here it's very high as Romeo and less dark, so I cannot really put my color into and my length into. I really do not really pronounce the words. I do the words so you hear the words, but the words are not into the notes. Listen there. So this is an A5, pretty good for contralto. For contralto. It's direct, it's plenty. It is in a bit low positions, because as a contralto I can't have really very, very high positions. So what happened there? It happened that after that, I started thinking. I remained in Conservatory. I started working as professional. During the summer, I went been participating in some courses just to listen, because they were postdoc, very high level courses immediately, and I was absolutely not ready to do them. You do them after your master, after having won competitions, international competitions. So I was at my second year of study, and of course I was not ready. So, but I went to listen and to learn. And I started deciding to change something. I started deciding to stop darkening, and I started deciding to stop trying to put biflection, all the sounds and the vocal folds that they wanted. Also because it happened something quite unfortunate into my class, that many singers had nodules. And I was one of those without. And we had some tension, because I didn't do anymore technically what I was asked. I loved the kind of repertoire we did. I loved the kind of artistry and skillfulness into the repertoire that I studied with my teacher there. But from a technical point, I lost trust. And I started doing other things. Doing other things still into the path of this strange thing that was asked to me. Not to be the true voice I was, and not to respect whether my voice was in phases, but to become what the market and the repertoire asked from voices, meaning mezzosoprano roles. I think that there is a lot of contralto roles, less probably than mezzosopranos and sopranos and certain kind of sopranos. Yes, of course, but there is enough to sing as a contralto, to be happy, to be satisfied, to sing well. But it looks like that if I hadn't that hyper-darkened sound without any more delight of my instrument, I could not be a contralto. It was a strange époque. Yeah, pretty strange. Still, in chamber music and other, I did sing as a contralto. So, sacred music I was a contralto, chamber music I was a contralto. Composers had this strange thing that asked very often to high soprano to be more darker and sing lower, and to me to sing higher. Next week you will see an interview with a natural contralto from the United States, fantastic singer, who won the artistry program of the Metropolitan Theatre of New York for young artists as a soprano. And nobody found that there was something strange into her voice, and she stopped the career, and now she started again 20 years later as a natural contralto. And again, community and people, they say, but contralto is when you lose your high notes. It is an old singer. No. It is a category that you are, and you don't change, no matter the color that you have. It's been a strange epoch. So the thing is, they asked me to sing higher. I, in some sort, managed to do it without damaging myself. I could sing Amneris. I've sung Amneris, yeah. It was very fun also. I could sing Charlotte or Werther. I could sing Carmen. Not perfect for me, because still when you're a contralto you manage that. Yeah, a bit, not exactly at your home, okay, but I had quite a big, good technique. And I make you listen now when pro still in conservatory, but my last year in conservatory, because I became a pro the year after those videos, and I made a lot of concerts in many things, and composers have composed for me. And this is a piece of composed for me for the credits of a movie with an amazing orchestra. And you're going to listen. The composer gave me 36 hours before recording. And you're going to listen that I have no more that long wave that I had. I've lost it. To sing higher. So, as you hear, I have taken back all the clarity and the light and what we call squillo of my voice. Probably this is one of the reasons why I didn't damage myself, singing sometimes so high and singing usually more into a mezzosoprano tessitura, that is the extension in which you are effective, that is called tessitura. It's a smaller part of the extension. And I managed to do it. But as you've heard, I've lost the warmth of the low part. But I could again put the sounds. I'm a little more nasal than before. But I have this clarity. And if you listen to that all, you will listen that I have this light coming exactly from B4 into D5, where I get into this clarity. This clarity is typical of contraltos. If you listen to all the contraltos, there they become very clear. Plenty of sound, but this is this amazing sound that comes in too. Then some can have positions to mitigate it, but it's quite common to contraltos. Contraltos are not just dark. Now, there I developed into the posture the connection with the chest voice better. I have not naturally the connection in the lower part of my voice for a structural thing. I had this little skin we have under the tongue too short. And I didn't know it. That's why my larynx was more stiff and got out of phases if I tried to darken too much for my voice. I had less possibility of this darkening. I cut it with a laser some years ago. Now I have made some works into my mobility, and now I have my dark, low voice. But still, I could be effective into the career, and I could be developed into the career by what? First point, do not ask one of your students or yourself to do things that put your voice out of phases, out of pitch, where you cannot really put the overtones of the subglottal pressure, the squillo, into your voice, which is one of the signs that you are protecting your vocal folds from strain and damage, because it's the sign that you are well hydrated and they can perform while the blood is going into. And you have this kind. Some voices have more, some voices have less, but still we want it and we cherish it. And again, if by darkening I could, how can I say, manifest myself as more stable, it is a shortcut. Because I was not that stable when I entered the conservatory, just because I wasn't so skillful, and especially my tissues were not so much developed at that time. It was too short time that I was studying. The Koreans with which I was singing had some 15 years, 12, 15 years of study, strict into university. They had a master degree, and some they have the postdoc. Me, I just studied singing since 3 years there. And I had not really performed those kind of music out. So I was very, very young into this. And to push to stabilize too soon is one of the ways that you have heard that into Romeo I started losing precision and phases. I was wise enough to change course. I was not wise enough not to get into the too high tessitura. But you know, there was experience. And for today, for this is closed. Second thing of today I wanted to talk to you just the last 5 minutes. Okay, and now for the second part, I would like to talk about this fantastic musician, who is Heinrich Panofka, who has composed some solfeggios for voices, which are not solfeggios for sightseeing or for theory. They are just vocalizations with piano accompaniment made to the functions of the voices. There are studies that I give to all my students, no matter the style, and for heavy voice, I transpose them, but just for really heavy voices, like mine, and some other very rare ones. All the others have to do in the original tone. It says in this vocal ABC, which is for very young voices, something very important into the preface. The practice of solfeggio is useful to instrumentalists and to those who intend to become composers, but is detrimental to those who wish to become singers. In fact, by commencing with the study of solfeggios, we break the established rules for developing and preserving the voice. And some of you will say, no, but it's better. No. It says something very precise. The human voice must not be considered as a complete instrument upon which every kind and style of music can be executed. That is exactly what I was telling you previously about my voice and about the other contralto voice, but it fits, and it's like that for all the voices. That's why we get to biology, because biology gives us the tools to understand if you are choosing by taste, by bias, by wave of the moment of the musical world, or exactly by what is objectively, or more objectively, what is required by the voice at this state, at this moment, in the condition in which it is, etc. And it's very powerful to get back to that. Get back because they used to manage that, now with added knowledge. So with more tools and more knowledge to even overcome and have more tools than before. So pupils, by beginning in this manner, give all their attention to intonation and none to the quality of tone or the manner of producing it. Now, the least movement of the mouth, the tongue, the cavities of the nose, the cheeks, or even the teeth will alter the quality of the tone of the voice. The pupils who have, before the change of voice, been accustomed of these movements of the tongue find difficulty and sometimes impossibility in the delivery of the higher tones, and the voice becomes false, weak, and worthless. The cause of this is evident. Pupils who practice solfeggios neglect the quality of the tone. Some open the mouth too wide, others not wide enough, some sing through the nose, others in the throat, etc. These few lines will suffice to demonstrate that this manner of teaching the element of singing before the change of voice has taken place. Is the real cause of the loss of so many voices, of their bad quality, and the weakness of the breathing organs. What is he telling here? He is telling something quite precise. He is telling that if you start by manipulating the organ to get to the pitch, to get to the note, to get to the pronunciation of the note, do, re, mi, as we do in Europe, you will not be developing all the complex system that is less precise, that is less able, that gets to have a voice, gets to have an intonation, gets to add the words into the intonation. Remember what I said about mezzosoprano roles and what I had to do to be in phases and to be with the overtones and to be with my real, not production and not damage or lose it by the words production that can be dominating and can take away the tone production because I was not ready, because it was too high, etc. There I was tone wise, but when you're young, very often you are not. And if you are not guided into the environment to be tone wise, all those dominant parts are going to change how your cognitive level think about the voice. Do you remember some time ago that we said when we started the second edition that the voice is done by nervous system, respiratory system, musculoskeletal and digestive. It is really done by that. So everyone that starts singing, it has a different perception, development, state of those systems. And the cognitive level, which is not only the nervous system, is the brain. And everything is the brain, if you want, is cognitive. But there you have also the structure that acts into. And the part of the training that we have to do, most important, is to put your brain into the conditions of having those four systems working together. And the goals are not attained immediately. So the solfeggios will not be attained immediately. No, of course, you will have after. But after, you will have the true solfeggios by singing. And you will not lose your voice to make the solfeggios. You will sing your solfeggios. You will not, manipulate the organ just to do it. And eventually you will put where your voice is. Because sometimes they're too high for low voices. Yeah, can be. If you don't sing really plenty, can be too high. And you don't have to change your voice for the solfeggios. It's theory. You have to learn the theory. Yes, of course. After, when you're able to properly produce the tone with the words, while thinking also to do something else that is sightseeing, etc. But where we are yet trained into the voice. Remember? Which it is quite big. See you next time. Have a very good week.